It was Texas, it was Tennessee. It was what I had coming to me.
Alrighty, welcome in, folks. You have arrived at the Texas to Tennessee podcast. My name's Steve. To my left is Soul Gravy. And tonight we are very excited to have our friend Hollerhead all the way from Southwest Kentucky. Welcome in, sir.
Hi. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we're excited to get this one done all the way through this time. So
Maybe
fired
I
up
won't
about
drop
that.
out.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. It's probably on our end, but
yeah.
I guess first off, for maybe some of our viewers that might not be super familiar with your story, do you mind just taking a couple minutes and giving us a little bit of your backstory?
Like how far back we want to go.
Whatever you want to share. We just want to
Yeah,
get to know you a little bit better.
That's your call.
So I was just raised with a family that loved music. My grandfather played music. I carried that on for some time in life. I mean, I always played, and then moved to Lexington, Kentucky. Got bit by a bug up there, began songwriting, and have wrote ever since.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's me in the nutshell. And there's a whole world in there.
Well, we're going to dig into that a little bit. So, from what I remember, I think you're from Almo or close to Almo. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm right up the road from Murray, Kentucky.
Okay. Well, cool. Because we started a new game where I quiz Soul Gravy on famous people from your area. So bear with us for a couple minutes here.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, it is. I spent some time this afternoon going down some rabbit holes. So first off, we're going to use Murray because Murray's, I think, about 15 minutes away or around 15 minutes away.
Sure.
And it's kind of the next biggest town.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start you off first, Soul Gravy, with Molly Sims.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I know that name for some reason. I don't know why I know the name.
Yep, beautiful young lady. She is an actress / model.
Okay.
She's been in some movies. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but and then we have W. Earl Brown. Does that name ring a bell?
No, but anybody that has the first name W, I'm good for.
Yeah. It's kind of that's a baller move, I think.
Yeah, that's a great musician name, though. I mean,
It is.
W. Earl.
Yeah, for sure. So W. Earl has been in a ton. He's an actor. He's been in a ton of movies, and if you looked him up, you would probably recognize him.
Okay.
He's been in like the movie Scream. What's the Western, the kind of futuristic Western that he's been in? He's been in, he got to play a part in Star Wars. He's been in all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
But
I know,
cool.
I do know the face. Yes, I do.
Yep. Fun fact, he's friends with Mr. Jinx and Ward Davis.
Okay.
There's a story there. I probably can't tell the whole thing, but they are friends. All right, here's a little bit of a throwback. The gentleman's name is Mel Purcell.
I don't know. The name again sounds familiar, and I don't know why.
He's a famous tennis player. Chuck Taylor.
I've got a pair of his shoes.
Different Chuck Taylor.
Okay.
This is
Sorry,
Chuck. Chuck Taylor, the Kentucky gentleman. He's a wrestler, pro wrestler.
Okay.
All right. Rebby Jackson. Rebbie.
Is that his actual name or a nickname?
It's a she. Rebby.
Okay. Well, then it's not a baseball player then.
Nope.
No. Okay.
That's Michael Jackson's oldest sibling. So I went down
I didn't know that, but okay.
I didn't either. I found that out, and then I went down through the story on how she ended up in Kentucky away from her family in Indiana, and that's wild. So again, some homework out there for you folks. A gentleman by the name of Hawk Taylor. Hawk Taylor played for the Mets, the Angels, and the Royals.
Okay.
And then last but not least, and I'm sorry if I forgot anybody, but Shane Andrus. That name might be familiar for you.
It sounds like it, but again, my answer is going to be really repetitive. But
his he was a NFL place kicker. I can't remember which team he played with, but I think he played maybe for Indianapolis the longest. So
All right.
shout out to Murray, Kentucky. All those famous folks are from there. So
I learned a lot today too, so that's
all
great.
right, cool. Yeah, well,
I mean,
sometimes
SG Griffin's also from right up the road. That's pretty. We'll add that to the
Andy
SG.
Griffin.
SG. Good. Yeah,
He's
she's from
I'm
here.
sorry.
Yeah, she's a great singer, singer songwriter for sure.
Boy, my phone glitched at the wrong time when you said that because I heard Andy Griffin. I'm like, shit.
I mean,
He's
Andy's from here too, but that's
North
another
Carolina, right? Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for indulging us with that little derailment there. But the weird question that I'm going to ask you, we call it the pie question, and
story.
I'm going to give you a pie, and I would like you to divide it up into 4 sections. The 4 sections are songwriting, recording, performing, and then the business of running your own music business essentially. Which of those areas do you kind of feel like maybe you naturally gravitate towards?
Well, the very first thing I fell in love with would be the songwriting, and then so that's going to be therapy for me. I hope as an old man, that's where I get all this out. So that's got to be the number one. That's the biggest piece of the pie for sure. But performing and connecting with people is what it's all about. So that's ginormous to me. Is when you know that someone has connected to what you're trying to get out. I don't know how I connect to these things, but when I do and I see that with somebody, that's a huge piece too. So I don't know. It's hard to divide the writing versus that because they're kind of connected.
Hand in hand, yeah.
But and then in the recording, we just got out of the studio. We spent all last week in the studio. I have a recording studio at my house. I pack up all my gear. Like, I'm a nerd about this stuff. I take my microphones, my preamps. So to say that that's not a huge part of my world too is, so those 3 are really equal pieces of my world. And then the business is, I don't like that part of it at all.
Yeah.
But it's a huge. It maybe takes the biggest piece of the pie.
In terms of time.
In terms of like all the stuff you got to do to get to the next place, to get the snowball just a little bit bigger. If that's what the game is for you,
Right.
I mean, it's fun, but it's not that other thing that's. I don't know what that is. That's a gift from God. That's the business part isn't to me.
Sure.
That other 75% is something very special. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Can you talk
the way
Oh,
that
sorry.
you described it? I'm sorry. The way you described it, a lot of people, that was well put. As far as a lot of people don't know where songs come from, that muse or that you reach up and grab them or whatever analogy you want to use, but then you have to do the business side. Everybody, it's a pleasure to grab the songs. It's not,
Right. You've
Yeah.
longed for it. You hope will I tune back in today to that thing and will it come see me again? But the business, it's always there waiting.
Right.
There's always a stack of papers. There's always emails. It's the resistance for sure.
Yeah. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your support team or the folks that you have to kind of support you on your journey?
Yeah, you mean like currently, like who's behind Hollerhead, or like growing up?
Either, but I think more maybe towards currently. Curious as who kind of helps you with any of those pieces and whatnot.
So my wife is the absolute. She's number one. She sings with me. She listens to my songs. She tells me what's good. She understands what I like, and I don't know. She's the other half for sure. And then my band is huge. The drummer Trey Rudd owns a video production company, and so he does
nice.
all of our video shoots and all that good stuff that we do is all in house. Tim Green plays the bass. Derek Terry plays the electric guitar. Ryan Jones has been playing some piano with us, and then everything else is really like Shelby Preckless out of Paducah, Kentucky. He owns Loud and Clear Studio, and is just become one of my best friends. Everything that I've recorded since 2008 has been with Shelby, and so it's pretty much that group of people who do a lot of what we do. We've recently, in November, we're working with a few people that's going to help with some marketing ideas and some things like that. But that's just now started in the past 30 days up to this point, basically, and that's still kind of starting for me. So as of right now, everything we do is that group of people right there.
Yeah. Awesome, very cool.
Every detail of it, we're a tight little group for sure.
That's fantastic. And I think I remember from our initial conversation that a lot of that team has been together for a little bit, right?
Yeah. So me and Della have been married for 17 years, and she's had to tolerate what I do. She's only started a couple years ago, but she's traveled and done this. I quit for 8 or 9 years or something. And so before we had our son, I was playing everywhere, and then we had him, and I took a break and didn't know what I wanted to do. And then she's encouraged me to come back. And so she's been with me this whole time. But Tim's been with me for 4 years now, Derek 3 years, and Trey he's been doing all of our videos and stuff for 2 or 3 years, but he just joined as a drummer maybe 6 or 7 months ago. Our drummer took off and moved to out west, and he filled in. So, but we've all been together for a long time. And Shelby, like I said, has been recording me for years before this band was together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So as far as when you talk to people and they say Kentucky music, we kind of naturally have a sound, in our head that we think of, and I think that's primarily Middle and East Kentucky. And your sound is a little bit of that, but it's its own sort of thing too. And we've talked to several folks that from your area, like Tony Logue. I haven't talked to you about him, but I'm assuming you probably know Tony.
Yeah, I know Tony.
And so different folks like that, and the sound is a little bit different over towards the west. And I'm kind of new to this game, but where did that? I guess what are some of your influences on your sound? Because that's you're not one of the bluegrass guys. You got a little something different going.
Well, man, so I like I said, I grew up here. My grandfather, I know the very first week of my life, I was on a piano. He was doing ragtime on a piano, so I have, at some point in my life, I was backstage with Chet Atkins, Boots Randolph, and Floyd Kramer. I've been around music my whole life. So I got some stuff from him, the blues and that ragtime, but then I moved to Lexington, Kentucky. And then that's where I'll tell you where it really happened to me, when I really got bit for the very first time, is there used to be in Lexington, all the good stuff is gone. Not all the good stuff. All the good stuff that I knew back then is gone. But there was a place called the Linus Pub. There was the club and the pub. But at the club, My Morning Jacket was playing there. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with My Morning Jacket, but this was a tiny little room. And it absolutely, this was probably 2002, 03. And they blew me just completely away. I mean, I've always been a Blind Melon fan, and it was just like, they're back from the dead, And so I really got into songwriting after watching Jim James, after watching that Tennessee Fire album and At Dawn album, and It Still Moves. Those first 3 albums changed my life. And then I would, there was the Dame that was downtown Lexington, and you had Sturgill, the Sunday Valley was playing all the time. Like, they were the local band. I mean, they were it, So I was really influenced by My Morning Jacket and Jim James whenever it was, or My Morning Jacket and Sturgill Simpson, Jim James and Sturgill Simpson. Whenever I became a songwriter, it was them. They were blooming at those moments in their own way, and I was just consumed with it. And I began writing, and I wrote all the time. I've been writing ever since that, So I think that's where my biggest influences is somewhere in between that. I like to say that I'm the child of John Prine and Blonde Melon, because I love singer-songwriters, but I love what Blonde Melon did back in the day, that rock and roll mixed with folk acoustic,
Yeah.
that swirl of music. So, I think a lot of Eastern Kentucky is, it really goes toward the country music side pretty hard,
Hmm.
good country music, but I just can't seem to shake the rock and roll side of me. I love to play, and you'd have to see the show. Some of these songs, we put out a single, and you don't really know until you see a show. But we straight up play rock and roll for a big
Hmm.
portion of our show. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, we're all over the place, I guess.
Well, that's okay, as long as it's you and authentic, and you know what I mean. You're driving this bus. You can be in whatever lane you want to be in.
Right?
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's hard to. That's taken a long time to understand, and things didn't really. I've been writing for a long time, but I was in my own way. I was a huge alcoholic. I've been sober for almost 3 years now, and everything really started to bloom from there because I kind of got out of my
Mm.
way. I've been writing songs for years, but it was like, man, go play a show and drink some whiskey and forget about the next day and wash, rinse, repeat. And then I quit drinking after my mom passed away, and it was like, oh, like I don't know, there's like something to do the next day. There was like I don't know, it just built, and I wasn't worried about getting to the next beer or getting to the next. I was able to kind of snowball things a little bit. So
Well,
that's
I want to tell you a little short story before, and then Talbot, you take the next.
Sure.
When So I guess it was early fall. I went to North Springs Music Festival. We've talked about this a bunch throughout the pod because we met a bunch of musicians, a bunch of bands from that festival that have been on, and but kind of just walking around the festival, meeting people that I knew on Facebook and this and that and the other. But all of a sudden, I see somebody walking around that festival with a Hollerhead shirt on, and I'm like, hold up. You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those moments to where you kind of start to see the community. And it, it, we just talked to Jack Browning, and Bill Taylor had one of Jack's shirts on. Bill's playing on stage with one of Jack's shirts on. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
these names that I know from online, there's all these artists and people, and
sure.
fans wearing all these T-shirts that I've only saw, but so I
And
guess
it's a
the
huge
community
community.
seems correct. Yeah, that's
And
what I was
man,
gonna.
and the blessing I have is that I left my home in West Kentucky and I moved to Eastern Kentucky when I was 18, and I stayed there for 12 or 13 years and met so many crazy, wonderful people. And then I had to move home, family reasons. But I have built a community. Like you're talking about that. It seems like a divide, but I'm here to tell you that I want every inch of that. I love all of Kentucky. Like
Mhm.
I've got some fun shows I'm about to announce in Eastern Kentucky that I get to go out and play. And we're playing the Borough next month. And then I've got some great shows back home with like Melanie Davis and Fate McAfee. If you guys don't know them, we're doing that in February. So I got Lance. I'm doing Cody Lee Meath is coming down here to play some shows with me. So I love I'm from east to west. This to me there isn't
Yeah.
that divide. It's good music from one end to the other. And I think I have there's a lot of great artists. Spooky Fox, like he's in Eastern Kentucky, but he's not that's that
Understood.
sound. He has some rock and roll and some blues and some mixed with some Kentucky, and it's just beautiful. So I would absolutely check out Spooky and
Um,
Cody Lee. I think is another one that's he doesn't fit. He doesn't. These guys don't have a mold.
yeah.
They're their own artist,
Yeah,
and
that's a good thing.
yeah, Kentucky's full of that from one end to the other.
Yeah, well, like I said, that was one of those moments where I really started to notice what the community was about. Just being at that
Yeah,
festival on day one, walking around, you could tell all the
yeah,
artists were hanging out backstage, which is a
It's a good
carport.
sign. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're just at a picnic table hanging out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
everybody from Ward Davis to them Dirty Roses to Taylor Honeycutt to all these different. They don't sound the same.
Yeah.
No.
to Bill Taylor, which is an acoustic bass group, but they're all just hanging out, bullshitting. So, but then they walk out and you see all the fans. This guy's wearing a Ward Davis shirt, but he knows exactly who Bill Taylor is, and you know what I mean. So it just stood out to me that community, and I can only imagine what that's like to actually
Awesome.
be in the community.
Our old drummer, Jeremy Shelburne, he moved out west. He moved to Arizona, and I talk to him every couple days. We stay in touch, and he talks about how much he misses the Kentucky music scene. He's like, it's just not. The people aren't the same. And when I say Kentucky, that stretches down into
right.
There's a big circle of music, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that border. But we're very fortunate to have what we have right here in this little circle. Because when you go out, not that it's not there, I just don't think that there's that bond or that network that you're talking about. It's pretty special here.
Yeah. And
that's because of other people who have done that. It's people like my grandfather and my grandfather's uncles, and it's just it's in and it's today's people too. People have been so cool to me. Lance Rogers, Eric Bolander, like this whole group out east has been phenomenal to me. I've done a lot of great shows with Tony back here. I've done, it's just an awesome group of people.
It's good to hear.
We're fortunate to be a part of it for sure.
I think you touched on this a little bit, but you said there was about 8 years where you kind of had a little sabbatical or hiatus or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about how much things changed in terms of the music business and kind of how you went about getting things done in that time?
Like when I came back, it was like. I don't know. It became a thing where it was 8 years ago, or this was 12 years ago now. I've been playing back for 3 or 4 years now. So it just became the same thing. It became going to get drunk and play a show. And it wasn't, to me, I didn't have the same desire to write, and I wanted a life change. I went back to school and became an RN, actually. And I got into jujitsu to change arts completely. And so I got out of the music just because it was, I don't know. It was just, I just needed a break. I needed something new. I wasn't doing anything new. Nothing new was happening, doing the same things. And when I came back, I had a friend ask me to do a benefit. And I hadn't played my guitar out of my living room in 8 years. And I just said, I don't know. I told him I would, and I called him and said I wouldn't. And I did that for a few months, and I ended up playing it. And then nothing mattered after that. Whenever I polished off a bunch of old songs, and then I went and played those. And for people I hadn't played in front of 8 years and got that response back, it was the end of it. It was all over as fast and as hard as I could go. I wanted to write. I started piecing together equipment and went from one guitar to 50 and a studio full. I mean, I just got consumed. And the difference was I had a platform now. You didn't have that before, especially as an alcoholic going from bar to bar, not networking very good. Now I'm sober, and I have the internet, and I have podcasts, and I have you have Instagrams and Facebook, and how creative can you be? And to me, it's been a more of a just to have fun with it and be creative and use visual arts so to me, it's been a huge blessing when I came back from what things were like back
before.
When I used to play. We would go around and play, and you would just kind of hope for the best. And if you're a dumb Kentucky kid and you like to drink a bunch, it's hard to get real lucky. You might be able to, but it's hard to put those pieces together of who you need to talk, what network you need to build, and just I was just didn't know what I didn't know back then. But it's just been easier without the booze for sure.
Like they say, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
That's it for sure.
It is interesting because a lot of folks, seems like a lot of folks that we've talked to have had things were going pretty good, and then the old pandemic came in, and kind of rattled everybody's chain. But time-wise for you, that sounded like that was pretty soon after kind of things were winding down. Is that right?
No, it was. I had been out of the game. Around the pandemic was when I was really just getting like when I was asked at the end of the pandemic or maybe right before the pandemic. I had played a show.
Okay.
And that's kind of how things had started. And then, so the pandemic to me, it didn't affect me because, I saw the first person like post a video and I'm like, oh, okay, there's an outlet. We can't leave, but I can pick up my guitar and I can play. And then, I was ready when that thing was over. I was chomping at the bit to get at it.
Yeah. So you were doing lives and stuff like that during the pandemic. You were.
I would, more recording videos and
Okay.
posting them. Like I would wake up in the morning, do a video and start that, and then started seeing people, like they were responding to it, and yeah.
Yeah, super
Gotcha.
cool.
Yeah.
One of the things that seems to come up, or we notice it a lot, is you'll have, I don't know, a youthful person that all of a sudden blows up on social media, kind of goes viral. And then all of a sudden they're going from, playing songs in their kitchen to, playing big shows, going from 0 to, I don't know, 100 or whatever, but,
Right.
accelerating really, really quick, which I've always thought would be super scary. I'm happy for those people that happens to, but there's a ton of things that you kind of have to learn along the way, especially, performance wise. I think that would be terrifying.
I think it would be too. Yeah. As far as the performance side of that goes, yeah, it would be. I think you've got to pay your dues in this to know. I mean, that's part. It's about a ride. It's not. I mean, if you're just wanting money, then that shoot to fame, I guess, would be great. But I can't imagine missing all that I have the ride.
Right.
And I can't. And I guess that's easy to say because I have to ride it because that's where I'm at. But
Yeah, right.
but I think that's the story. That's the attraction. I think that's how every band before me, the ones that I love and watched, it's about watching the documentary. It's not like Jim Morrison started on April 4th, and on the 5th he was
Right here.
There's a huge story.
The end.
Yeah,
Right. And
I agree.
well,
I agree. I think it would be terrifying to be those young people, especially that happens to, and you.
Especially if they didn't have the right system around them, which has got to be rare to even have. How do you know what system to have?
Well, you don't. That's the thing. You don't.
I mean, you got to be. You got to be.
Don't know what you don't
lucky.
know, right? Like.
And you don't. I have a lot of gray hair. I still don't know from day to day what. I try
Me
to.
too.
I like your Tim Gooden podcast, and he was talking about. I'm not. He's going to do it pretty much. He's not interested in doing one song every night for the rest of his life, right? And that's boring. I think it's it's a ride. It's learning to be a better songwriter tomorrow. Like I just got out of the studio last week. I wrote these songs. They just happened a month ago. They fell out of the sky. I was very pleased. We went in the studio, we got them. And then I've already got like 2 new songs that I'm ready to record. That's the ride. It's always, can I better myself? Can I better my song? Can my band get a little bit better? Can we do a better performance? Can we tell a better story? That's the ride I'm on. I just want to see how good the painting is at the end. Not necessarily, I'm not looking for anything other than that, just to enjoy the ride. What song can me and my wife do next that reaches out and touch people? That's what I'm in it for.
Yeah. The other process doesn't seem super long-term sustainable, but I don't know. Just from an outsider's point of view, it seems like your way sounds like a lot more fun. So that being said, speaking of songs, I think we reached halftime. So do you mind grabbing one for us?
Yeah. Which one would you rather? As far as which one would you pick, Jeremy? Never Gonna Leave You, or Hurt People, or Devil in Details? Which is your call. Those
Let's
are
do
all
Hurt.
relatively new songs, by the way.
Yeah, Hurt People came out Friday. Let's do that one.
All right, here we go. I guess when this is over, if you wouldn't mind breaking it down a little bit for us, tell us
Yeah,
about
for
the
sure.
song.
Great, thanks.
I've been a mean man in my life. I've been a mean man to my wife and to her daughter and to my son, to everything that I have ever loved. Why do we do things we do? Why did I do those things to you? Hurt people, ain't that the truth? But I'd swear it on your grave, all the hell that I ever raised, I am through. I've been scared, man, scared for my life. I've been a boy in the dark with his pocket knife. Ain't scared of no beatings, for he made me tough. Just scared that I'd never be good enough. Why do we do the things we do? Why did I do those things to you? Hurt people, ain't that the truth? But I'd swear it on your grave, all the hell that I ever raised, I am through. I've been at war, man, inside my head. Wouldn't believe all the things that the devil said. Oh, he told me I'm no good, and I'd always be. And there's no one that would ever love me. Why do we do the things we do? Why did I do those things to you? Hurt people, ain't that true? But I'd swear it on your grave, all the hell that I ever raised. Oh, I swear it on your grave, I am through.
There you go.
Man, that's a tough one. So the last verse with the devil with the laugh in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
How
thought that
did
was
that-
one of you guys. I had to look up. I was like, oh, it's
How
hard
did
to
that
tell on the.
How did that come about? Or whose idea was that? That was cool.
I think that was Tim's. Tim is the bass player. We
Okay.
were. I'm pretty sure it was him that said, "Yeah, man, it'd be cool to hear that devil laugh right there." But I think it was him. It was one of the guys in the studio when we were playing with it. And
And it's cool that it's not like super prominent, you know what I mean? But it's there.
It's definitely
you know?
there. Yeah.
he does it live too. It's we try to get as close to what you're gonna get. He'll do
That's
that little
cool.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out
cool.
to Miss Della. Man, she added a ton of texture. You got a beautiful
Yeah.
voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, hope you pass that along.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, give us a little background on that song. That's, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that as far as the hurt people hurt people. That's
I mean,
definitely.
that's it. Yeah, I guess the song really started the first. I don't know. I had never heard that saying, and one of the old drummers in the band, we got into it. He was a really good friend of mine. He's a gearhead too, so we spent a ton of time doing in the studio. You know, me and him would set up microphones, and we would test a snare. We'd do every microphone and preamp we could do on a snare. Is it, you know, like, so he was a good friend of mine, and he ended up moving, and we got into it, and that was the first time I had ever heard. He said, you know, my dad always told me, hurt people, Jeremy, and wow, man, it just ripped me open. I was like, wow, that isn't that true? And then I started thinking about myself and, you know, how we don't mean to do that, and where does that come from? Why do we do that? And I started thinking about my parents and what life was like. And, you know, my mom was 17 when she had me, and what she had to go through. And so some of that was about my life. And then that end is what we do to ourselves, you know, like, why hurt people hurt people? Why do we do what we do? You know, because just we're human, you know. And that was the inspiration behind the song. Yeah.
Yeah, great tune.
Thanks, man.
I'd not heard that one yet. I thought I'd heard all yours, but I don't think I'd heard that one yet.
That one just came out Friday, so
Oh, okay.
brand
Oh, we'll put it on the playlist then.
They I was trying to remember who that was. You know, sometimes you start scrolling Instagram stories or whatever, and people have a story with music to it. You know, and I got my headphones in, and I'm kind of scrolling, but not really paying attention. And then I hear that song, and I can't remember who it was. I'm like, oh, you know, Jeremy's, you know, sharing his song, and it was somebody else, another musician. You know what I mean? Had that as and I wish I would have taken notes of who that was, but so it was someone else that, you know, tagged your song in their story, which is always cool when that happens. But
for
so
sure.
you know, it's hard to keep up with everything that goes on social media, and I didn't notice
yeah,
that you had
true.
released anything, but when I heard that, I knew who you were, and I knew it was y'all. You know what I mean? So then I had to
Right.
go I had to go backtrack and find the song. So
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's part of that network you were talking about. You know,
Yeah.
that's that I have had. I can't think the people from West Kentucky to East Kentucky, like you said. Like, I'll see my name pop up that somebody that had posted one of our songs, and it just, man, it means the world to have that
Yeah.
support, that
Super
encouragement. That's the wood that goes on the fire, man. That's what keeps it burning. You know, to
yeah,
hear that somebody else doing that led it to you, and that's what I try to do back. You know.
yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it happens in certain scenes around that we talk to and certain folks, but there's also a lot of scenes that it does not happen.
right.
Everybody's feasting for the same
Man,
little piece of the pie. So,
it is. Yeah, I guess people look at this thing at different what you want out of it, you know, and sometimes somebody might be in your way because you want something that's and somebody else may not even be looking at the thing that way, you know, and it's such a subjective what we're all after, making art or becoming famous. Or, everybody has their own way. So I'm the people that I have around me. I'm crazy blessed that I think we're all going the same way, and I think we'll all be playing music as long as the good Lord lets us, and we'll all get to continue to do what we do. Hopefully,
well,
because of that.
but I think the main thing you said was making art. That's you know
Yeah,
that's sometimes that's the line between some you know one frame of mind and the other frame of mind. Says that's
yeah. There's
that's
nothing wrong with it. You know, I support you. If you want to get famous, this is America. That's what's so beautiful about it. If your goal is to become famous, man, you're in
yeah.
the right place, because here
And
you
then,
can go for just, you can not be very good at all and get famous. You can be good and get famous. There's just,
Right.
or you can just be art. Some of the best art is not even like, most
yeah, but
people out there don't even know.
Yeah.
but but they can make a living doing it. We've talked of,
Right,
you know, that's the foundation. That's the, you know, that's the, like you said, that's the fan base and the foundation and the
right.
business and the
Yeah.
long-term goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you teased us a little bit and said you went from 1 to 50 guitars.
Oh,
Not trying to dox you or anything, but is it possible for you to tell us maybe about some of your favorite pieces that you have? I think our
yeah.
gearheads out there will appreciate that.
Yeah. As far as guitars, I mean, my Martins are. I have a D28 and a D15 here. And those are my babies. I swap out between those, but anything Martin acoustic, and that's where I'm at. I've got other guitars, but those are my main. And then I play a 335 Gibson 335 usually when we play live, and I play a Nash sometimes, which is a parts caster.
Yeah.
So, but I got several. My wife's probably listening, so no. But I mean, I got some Callings, and I've
You got a
got
couple in the garage?
in my garage. I have
Well,
a
you
couple.
can't tell her about?
I mean, my garage, man. So when this thing started, she bought me a program when I started getting back in it. She got me Studio One, and she was like, "I think you ought to get back into it. I want you to." She encouraged me the whole time to start recording again because this used to be a huge passion.
Yeah.
And now, so on our property, we live in the middle of nowhere. Like literally, there's no houses anywhere around. There's one building out in the middle of a field. It's a 2-car garage type deal, and it's a studio now. And there's gear from one end to the other. I mean, it is our headquarters.
Okay,
So
cool.
It's preamps, it's microphones, it's guitars, it's drums. It's like our headquarters is a huge cave of music, pianos, and yeah. So it went, and she's super cool about it because she hasn't said much about anything, but it's like, wow, there's this, you had a guitar and now there's a studio a few years later. And,
Right. Careful what you wish for, Miss
Yeah,
Stella.
I got you that program you needed.
Yeah. But like she's caught the bug too. So in the past couple of years, she's become a piano player. She plays. She's learning the mandolin and she's singing, and so
nice.
so it's good when she doesn't just help with all the other stuff. She's a part of it too.
Right.
And so my son, we're encouraging him to get all involved with it. We love the whole thing. It's the way I was raised, and so here it's just music all the time. We don't watch much TV. We're listening to podcasts, or talking music, or playing music. Just singing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Soul, would you like to go? And then I'm gonna go to rapid fire after you get done.
Okay. Just kind of we've talked about your team and all that stuff, but just kind of a goal. How many, roughly, how many dates a year just would you like to play? For people listening that's not in the business, you know what I mean? Kind of, what would be that somewhat sweet spot?
I mean, if you're asking me, the ideal perfect schedule is just going to be
Yes.
like to hit them on the weekend, and come home. And I have a family, so that's everything to me. I have a son, and he's not, he's interested in baseball and basketball, and I'm not interested in missing that. So in my perfect world, it's maybe every other weekend. Give me Dolly Parton show on Friday night, opening for her, and then let me open for Jason Isbell on Saturday night, and that's
Sounds
my
like
perfect.
fun.
That's my perfect schedule. But right now I'm doing whatever we got to do to kind of what Tim said. I'm it's all my rules. I'm happy in life. I don't need music to pay my bills. I don't expect music to pay my bills. I make art. So as far as the shows go, it's like when it makes sense for me and my family and my band, and that's when, and next year we have some much bigger shows coming up. We're about to announce that we can't announce yet. We got on some festivals coming up, and so you plan around those. You want all the big good festivals, and you can plan your life around those. But I want to play the shows. I want to have fun. I want to play a lot of music in my area of the world. I'm okay with that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to watch my kid grow up. I want to be a part of my family, and I want to have my cake, and I want to eat it too.
Yeah. Good for you.
Oh, yeah. So it's one other quick thing. You've been in this for a little while. So who's been some people that you've kind of found yourself around or in a room with that you were a fan of that you're like, holy shit, like how did I, how am I here? Have you had any of those moments?
Um,
Whether you're on a bill with somebody or just ran into them or whatever, or they
I mean, yeah, we've got
like what you do, whatever the case would be.
I've been blessed with a lot of, um, just there's a lot of those. But for me, the
Okay.
fact that the last time I played the Borough, I got to play the Borough in October, and I opened up for Sixpence None the Richer, and Lance Rogers was front row. He was right in the center of that.
Okay.
So that's super cool to see that.
Yeah.
And I played another show recently, and Lance showed up at this another thing I did at Eastern Kentucky, and uh, Eric Bolander was there. I mean, just to see all those,
I see what you mean.
and
Yeah.
to see that support that they've given me at shows. But as far as being in, like I said, I grew up around. My grandfather was a sound technician, a piano
Yeah.
guy, so I didn't know at 10 years old when I was backstage with Chet Atkins.
That's pretty wild.
So it's just always I've just been blessed to be around great musicians and get that, I don't know, that vibe from good people. But as far as being around them and looking out to the audience and being like, hey, this is cool. It's super cool when somebody that you respect, like Lance or some of these other people show
Yeah.
up and support you. And the whole Eastern Kentucky um, group has been absolutely fabulous to me in the past year for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. But instead of waiting to the end, it seems like right before rapid fire would be a good. Make sure you follow Hollerhead on all your socials, Instagram, Facebook. He does some TikTok stuff as well. But make sure that you for sure make sure you go wherever you're streaming music, hit the follow button, so that whenever new music comes out, you don't miss it. Because it's hard to keep up with everything that comes out, but that's the one way that it'll show up, for you most of the time, I think. Anyway, that's the best chance you're going to see all of these
Yep.
independent guys music is to actual follow their page. Also, when you follow their page, it's a good sales point to have those monthly numbers for gigs and things of that nature. It's a good business card to
Huge.
have. So
Yep.
so all right,
Yep.
Tabo.
All right,
Kick
we're
it.
gonna dive into the rapid fire questions. They don't need a lot of explanation, but we'll just get into it. So usually at this point, I ask people what their Spotify Wrapped looks like. But I'm curious, what you talked a little bit about podcasts. Give me 2 or 3 podcasts that you listen to or enjoy on the regular.
I study, and that's a big problem. Like I do marketing podcast and things like that. I do Creative Juices. I do 10-Year Town. I do.
Okay.
I listen to this one quite a bit, but
Oh, thanks.
I really like the educational podcast. I like. It depends on what I'm into, but yeah, the
Yeah.
10-Year Towns. That's a great one. I think that that. Uh, for songwriters, and then Creative Juices is great for
Cool.
anybody that's wanting that marketing edge. I love that. Like how I don't know if you guys familiar with that. It's super cool. But anyway, yep, that's what I follow.
I've heard of it, but I haven't listened to it. But yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Mhm.
All right, Desert Island album. You get to take one album with you. Sadly, you're
No
on a
problem.
desert island though. Yep.
No problem. Blind Melon Soup.
Okay. Cool. Dinner with one historical figure.
Sheesh. Martin Luther King.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Michael Jackson's oldest sister.
Yeah. There you go.
Curious. What do you see when you play? Like,
What
what's
do I
going
what?
on? What do you see when you play? Like when you're up on stage playing, what do you see? What stands out to you? Or what do you?
Man, if I'm doing a certain song, like I really try to visualize. I really believe that if I can I pull up the emotion that I wrote the song. So a lot of times I go to I go to my mom or I go to my grandmother or my wife's mom. We had a lot of loss, so I go to them and I sing to them a lot. And like I really visualize them sometimes, especially on a song like "Never Gonna Leave You" or some of those type songs. That's where I try to go. I try to go to the real moment and to the real energy in which I tried to pull the song from.
Very cool. Ideal green room.
Sheesh. I don't get very good green rooms. Hernando's is a pretty good little green room. You mean like, are you talking about a place or what I would like to have?
We'll just
Space.
we'll
I love just the idea of just, I don't like to show up and not have anywhere to go because I'm, I think you said it on podcast 1. This is a place for introverts to come talk about, there's and I don't
Right.
like that. I'm all about that. I love to meet people, but there's just a time. So any green room, any space just to go get I'm not supposed to do this. People aren't supposed to like my songs. I'm just a guy from Kentucky that puts a pen on paper to learn how to play the guitar. So any green room to me is a great place just to give me a little bit
Just a
of
space,
go get my head right for a minute before I have to. It's hard when you have to sit, and especially not drinking. And I don't dislike being in a room with people drinking, but sometimes it's nice to have a place to. So any block wall, I don't need anything. Don't put anything in it. Just give me a room to go be by myself for a minute. Yeah.
That's cool. This one's a little different, but first concert that you ever went to, and then the first concert that you ever paid to go to.
The first concert I guess I remember ever going to would be with my grandfather, and a Ricky Skaggs concert. He was doing the
Okay.
sound and introduced me to Ricky Skaggs. He
That's
said,
pretty cool.
That's not a bad one.
Ricky Skaggs walked up, and
Better
I
than
don't
the
remember
rest of
this,
ours.
but my granddaddy said, Ricky Skaggs said, "Is this your grandpa?" And apparently I got mad and said, "No, this is Charles to you." His name was Charles. I didn't like him calling my granddaddy granddaddy. My granddaddy loved to tell that story.
That's funny.
First one I paid for, oh man, probably, man, I don't know. Probably Pantera.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Dallas band. All right.
I've
Let's
saw him
see.
a bunch, man, like so many times.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe a venue that you haven't played that you'd like to play.
The Ryman, that's what I'm in this for. After that,
You
count
good?
me out. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it for sure. Yeah.
All
The
right.
Ryman is the one.
All right. Then this one's the only kind of semi-controversial one, but tribute bands, yay or nay?
Yay.
Cool with
Yay. All
cool.
bands, all people, anything anybody wants to do. That I vote. That's my vote all the time. Is everybody gets to do what you want to do, and you can like what you want, and there's room for everybody. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Very cool. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Okay. All right. So this is if you've listened to the podcast, you already know that this is the last and final question and the most important question. Jeremy, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Oh, a Nutty Buddy, maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
All right.
Buddy.
Okay.
There you go.
No,
Nutty Buddy's kind of making a push here lately.
yeah.
Are they?
I know that was.
Well, on our podcast.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It was BJ Barham's second favorite. So if you just want to know,
It was.
Yeah. That's
All right.
what he
What was this?
said last night.
What was this first?
Swiss rolls.
Swiss Rose. All right.
And he brought up one that they haven't made since 1994, called a coconut something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But he was very. He said him and his brother were very adamant. He looked straight into the cameras like, "Little Debbie, get your shit together."
Right. Like only
Who knows,
PJ
right?
can.
Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah, he's good at that part. All right. Like I said before, make sure you go follow on all the socials wherever you stream your music. Hit that follow button. I'm glad that we could make this happen again. We were like, well, let's get you on the schedule, and that was April. And I'm like, man, you got new music out now. I'm like, let's just hurry up and move this forward. So now I got to do my part and get it edited and posted. So yeah, all right.
Man, for everybody that, for all of us out here that are doing this by ourselves, that looking for a place to find new people, I really, really, really appreciate you, and I know all the other people that you've helped. Sometimes you forget to say that, and I know all the artists, most of the artists want to thank you as well. It really means a lot that you guys push like you do for anyone making art. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, man. Appreciate
Well,
it.
mostly Soul's pleasure, but that being said, yeah, we tried just talking to ourselves, and it wasn't a very interesting podcast. So, thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks, Hollerhead.
See ya.